Well, listen, thank you. First of all, thank you, Kissia. Thank you, AUHF, for inviting me. Um, One of the things that we've been very passionate about is the importance of housing finance in solving the housing crisis that we've been in for the last 50 years. And of course, expanding access to finance is one of the key components of that. But with that comes the lowering of risk, the improvement of delivery of housing finance, and ensuring that capital that's being expended actually is going into the homes that are being constructed. And that really is some of the pain points that iBuild is solving. And what I'm going to do is, I have the ability to share my screen. I'm going to skim through some of these slides because I know we have a limited amount of time. iBuild really is, it's a platform. It's a platform economy. It's an ecosystem. Essentially, the major problem that we're solving is organization of the market. How do you find the resources that you need? How do you know that those resources actually are good? When you deploy them, how do you know they're actually doing what you are paying them to do? How do you access all of the tools necessary to be successful in your journey, whether as a consumer or as a developer or as a contractor or as a worker? As we all know, workers are generally treated like commodities. And what iBuild has done is created a career which identifies the individual skills of these workers and allows them to be able to find employment, get hired, get paid what they're owed, and essentially to be able to create a journey that allows them to have a career in the construction industry. What's even more important is it's giving access to the various organizations, both public and private, to the ability to be able to communicate their products, their resources, and their construction desires to the market, and to be able to use our technology to seamlessly manage, apply, and access the various pieces that create success in the building paradigm. And of course, this is incredibly important because, as most of us know, housing production, nearly 80%, is accomplished through self-build. It's a journey that's taken by individuals. It's incremental, and essentially it can take years. And what's important is to allow individuals who are spending their hard-earned money, and loans are few and far between, to allow them to be able to get the maximum value from what they're spending to construct the home that they expect to spend their life in. And as we all know, housing is the basis for dignity. It's the basis for the proper perspective for children growing up, the housing security that they feel, their outlook on the world. And what iBuild is doing is it's making that accessible, and it's making it accessible affordably. And I just want to clarify one point. We are not a construction company. We are a convener. Essentially, on our platform, we allow everyone that's doing business in the construction world to actively participate, to essentially find customers, to be able to deploy their materials, to manage their projects effectively. As you'll see in my presentation, we have developers that are managing projects in multiple countries, let alone multiple projects in single countries. We have government entities that are managing programs. We've developed a new program in Mexico, which I'll talk about a little bit. Supply chain management. One of the things I'll talk about is our new licensing agreement with Lafarge Holcim, and essentially what we're doing with them. And the beauty of iBuild is it can be used as a platform, as it is in Kenya, or it can be used in pieces. Essentially, we designed it in enterprise format so that if you're a developer and you just want to use the development, the contractor features, the supply chain features, the loan features, you can connect those modules together and use them seamlessly. What it also does allows us to be able to aggregate an enormous amount of data to assist you with improving the delivery of whatever it is that you're doing. So, one second, the next slide that lets me. And this is a good example of essentially the lender's module. And what the lender's module allows is it allows the connection of the consumer, the contractor, the supplier to the loan. The lender has the ability either to make the approvals of various bids, approvals of disbursements based on milestones of completions, a variety of things that the lender can do to control the capital that they're putting into the build envelope, but also to get real-time reporting. The entire technology is geotagged, which allows for you to know absolutely where the project is taking place, the tools to be able to go out and inspect, which are enjoined in each individual project. All of that data, of course, is accumulated. There's instant chat, which allows you to talk to any one of the people that are participating in that particular individual project or large development project. It really allows you to be able to ensure that your capital is doing what you think it's doing. And this, of course, is one of the central problems, diversion. Having the ability to be able in real time understand what's going on, to be able to ensure that the right materials are being ordered for a particular project and that they're actually going into that project is paramount. And for the lender, it allows them to be able to see those individual projects, track their progress by milestones. You have a dashboard which geotags all the locations of your loans. It allows you to see the photographs that have been taken, to approve new disbursements of funds, to add new tranches of funding. Because oftentimes you may have a customer that has multiple loans with you. And to be able to manage those individually, it allows for your customer service agents to much more economically and effectively manage their portfolio because they don't have to drive tens and sometimes hundreds of kilometers in order to verify project progress because of the verification tools which are geotagged within the iBuild platform. Project estimates are easy to essentially create. The mobile app allows for those estimates to be done in real time. Those estimates can then be approved by either the consumer or the lender to enable them to be able to select the right quote. All of the contractors, workers, suppliers are all rated. And obviously that's an important piece of information that oftentimes is left out because it's not known. Why? Because as we all know, in the construction industry, the vast majority are informal. And as a result of that, there's very little data that comes along with hiring them to actually do a specific job or provide specific materials. It also allows, iBuild developers module allows for large scale developments where essentially you can track progress, you can compare spend versus completion percentage, you get real-time updates from your supervisors in the field. It allows you to do change orders. It allows you to authorize payments. It really allows you to be able to have full control from the very beginning of the project to the very end of the project until it's released into the hands of either a consumer or as a property management piece. And you can manage projects across multiple markets. If you have projects in India and in Africa, in Nigeria, in Kenya, all those can be managed on the iBuild platform. It also allows for currency. So when you're dealing in a variety of different currencies, at the center of the iBuild platform is a mobile wallet. And that mobile wallet allows for the tracking and tracing of your wire transfers or your mobile payments or whatever way you're paying. It also ensures that you know that your contractors are actually paying their employees. How many of you have been involved in a project in which all of a sudden no one's showing up for work because the contractor essentially has not paid his employees in 2 months? All of those particular pain points contribute to the lack of production or the inefficiency of the production. and the ineffectiveness of the workforce. And iBuild is obviously solving those problems. One of the things that we've really gained a lot of traction over the last 2 years is a tool that we built in partnership with Miyamoto Engineering. And Miyamoto is one of the preeminent disaster engineering firms in the world. They have operations in 32 countries. They are deployed by World Bank and USAID and a variety of other aid agencies. And they're usually the first responders when there is a catastrophe, whether it's earthquake or flood or tornadoes. They were one of the first responders in Puerto Rico, in Nepal. They're currently working in Indonesia, which has frequent earthquakes. And they're using the assessment tool that we developed is being used to assess the condition of homes that either need repair or retrofitting. And in that assessment tool is an estimator. And that estimator, once the assessment is done, will give you a real-time cost of essentially doing those repairs. That's valuable on multiple fronts. One of the major fronts is the government has to pay generally for these things, and oftentimes they get charged astronomical amounts because they have nothing to compare those estimates to. And what this is allowing is it's allowing both public and private institutions that may be footing the bill or insurance companies to be able to have a base estimate that allows them to compare the estimates they're receiving post-disaster construction. And this is another example of management dashboards and analytics. And one of the things that data does is it informs. And the other thing about data is it's unimpeachable. So when you're looking for truth in the activity that's taking place within your own organization, technology is the only way to accomplish that. And iBuild essentially has built the analytics tools to help you to be better at what you do, to identify weaknesses, to identify problems before they become catastrophes, before they become losses. And this is, of course, instrumental in lowering the cost of capital. To sum the last couple of slides, iBuild aggregates the entire ecosystem. And in some markets, all of the modules are used as an entire ecosystem, such as in Kenya. In other markets, as you'll see here shortly, there are pieces of the iBuild platform that are being used for very specific purposes. And this is a good example of multiple projects that essentially are being managed by this particular developer. They have the ability to be able to see all those projects individually. They can click on each of those projects and see the individual data and statistics. So this is one of the programs that iBuild is being used, and this is one that we're incredibly proud of. This is Construye Paisano, and this is a program that was developed in partnership with the Mexican government, Sociedad Hipotecaria Federal, which is the Mexican bank that's responsible for funding all microfinance institutions in Mexico. And this is the diaspora program. Essentially, iBuild is allowing Mexicans living in the United States who are transferring money back home to Mexico to build their homes to now access contractors, supply chain, and finance to help supercharge their effort to construct their homes. And our partnership essentially includes many well-known names in the market. It allows us to be able to develop a new market, an ecosystem of self-production. It's promoting the creation of jobs. It's helping to develop local economies, especially in rural areas, and ensure the construction of adequate housing. It's really organizing the space, not just for Mexicans living in the US, but ultimately in 2023, we're opening the program up to all Mexicans in Mexico. Last year, there was $52 billion remitted to Mexico from the United States. 17% of that was directly related to self-build construction. And to the credit of the Mexican government, they've added incentives. The first 30,000 that's transferred from United States to Mexico is tax-free. That's right. As long as it goes into the construction of their home, there are no taxes being levied. SHF has empowered several different finance companies to offer lending products to Mexicans living in the US based on the frequency of remittance transfer. And this is really a new approach to providing finance to Mexicans living abroad. There's a huge desire to help to solve the housing crisis in Mexico. Of course, this is an enormous generator of jobs, and it allows for the quality construction of homes. There's also a quality control component, which allows for independent engineers and architects to be able to be enjoined in your projects, to get inspections, to ensure that projects are actually being built properly. They have the same capability. They can actually manage and see real-time reporting of their project from the comfort of their home in New York or Florida or California. They can talk instantly with anyone that's working on the project. They can order materials themselves from the multitude of hardware stores that are in the Mexico market, and just as if they were around the corner, actually doing the project on their own. And we feel that this is a cornerstone initiative. We're already getting interest from a variety of other countries. We actually begun conversations with KEPSA and the Ministry of Information Communication Technology in Kenya over a very similar initiative. And as we know, for every country in Africa, billions of dollars are being repatriated to their countries every single year. One of the major problems is, where does the money go? When I get home 2 years later, am I going to have a house that's built, or am I going to have an empty lot and wondering where all of the transfers went? These are some of the partners in this particular initiative. Sadatu is responsible for the labor market. They're a federal government institution. SHF, of course, is the federal bank that is our main partner. Infonavit is the housing authority in Mexico. And one of the things that we're looking forward to is embedding some of their credit initiatives into the Construye Paisano program, which again will add additional credit products to construction. Lifinanceria is one of the entities that SHF finances. They're the lead lending agency. They're doing about 250 loans a month currently. We expect within the first 6 months, we'll probably be doing somewhere around 1,500 to 2,000 loans per month. We've opened this program incrementally. The one thing you don't want to be doing is drinking water out of a fire hose. And you can imagine the kind of interest there is. The other thing is the foreign ministry is a partner in this. Why? Because where do Mexicans go to get information about finance and credit products that they can access in the United States? They go to the foreign ministry. Last year during Finance Week, more than 2 million Mexicans living in the United States participated in Finance Week, went to their various ministries and consulates to get information about new programs. We are the featured program this year in April to essentially roll out. Sometime in May, the president of Mexico will be talking about Construye Paisano on his daily conversations with the population. Lafarge Holcim is one of the major suppliers. We are enjoining all of their hardware stores, both independent and corporate. We've just finished mapping the majority of them in the Mexico market. Western Union, of course, is one of the major remitters. Banorte is one of the major banks that also has a remittance portal. The Terwilliger Center is one of our partners, and they're doing quite a bit of the surveys in that market. They're also looking on some other projects. And Externa is the government agency that is responsible for inspection of all government-funded projects in Mexico. They are piloting our developers module for inspection purposes of their projects. Another one of the several initiatives that we're really proud of is the use of our lenders module. Some of these names you may know, Lechego, for one of the largest MFIs in Africa. We have just about halfway completed the onboarding of their Kenya operations. We expect that by end of year, we will have added about half of their markets. They're using our lenders module to manage their loans. So they're enjoining their customers, the contractors, the supply chain, so that they have some control over where the capital is going. And there are a variety of different controls that you can apply. You can allow the consumer to make the decisions. You can just sort of be the fly on the wall that's essentially verifying that things are being done. One of the things we do is some process mapping so that we can ensure that the culture of your lender is reflected in the management with our technology. KWFT, we've just completed an agreement with them. They are utilizing the inspection tools for pre-funding of projects, doing the analysis, then inspecting those projects during construction or installation, and then post-inspection. We expect that they'll start taking up some of the other tools on the iBuild suite sometime later in the year. We're obviously very proud to be working with them. If any of you know Kenya Women's, they've been a force in the Kenya market and a leader. And as a result of new utilization of our inspection tools, they again have taken another step into the technology space to ensure that they're offering the best solutions to their customers and also to their own organization. SHF, which I spoke a little bit about, they are responsible for the credit lines for all MFIs in Mexico. And essentially, the second part of our initiative with them is having the balance of their MFIs in the market begin the adoption of the iBuild platform to administer funds that they're making available to these particular institutions. This is another initiative that we are so proud of. And this is a partnership with Habitat for Humanity India, who of course has been a force in the India market for more than 35 years. Habitat, for the first time in the history of India, as an NGO, won the management of the construction of 1.5 million homes in Andhra Pradesh. And they won it on the basis of utilizing the iBuild technology to manage the entire project. So essentially, this is a 3-year initiative. It's a self-build initiative. So the PMAY essentially provides approximately $25,000 worth of materials to individual plot owners. And the plots have already been distributed for, I think, almost 700,000 of these new homes to be constructed. There are 17,000 technical support people. Each of these people will have 50 homeowners that they will support in helping them, guide them through their self-build journey. iBuild is being used to onboard everyone involved in the project, to track the progress of these homes, and also track the flow of materials to each of these home sites. It also will give Habitat and the government of Andhra Pradesh the ability to be able to understand where the weaknesses are in programs such as this. This is part of a larger initiative, which is 30 million homes in the next 10 years. And we're already in conversations with some of the other states about iBuild being used to manage their particular tranches of the program. Last but not least, for today, we've just signed an initiative with Wholesome through Wholesome Maker. If you know Wholesome, you may know them as Lafarge. Lafarge Wholesome is the largest construction material supplier in the world. Lafarge we are onboarding them so that they can manage their entire supply chain, starting with Mexico, from distributor to hardware store, and allow them to be able to better manage all of the outlets that are either representing their products or selling their products into the market, including the adoption of their loyalty program and extending that to the consumer market. We're obviously very excited about that. Wholesome is in 70 countries. They're heavily embedded in Africa. And as a matter of fact, the second market looks like it's likely going to be Kenya. We're very excited about that. So these are just some of the utilizations of the iBuild platform, either as an entire ecosystem or individually for very specific needs of both public and private institutions. I'll stop there and see what kind of questions you may have or comments. But thank you again for allowing me to present.
Lou, thank you so much for that. I'm always amazed every time we have a conversation about how much more you're doing in developing and really getting into the detail of how that value chain plays itself out in so many different contexts. I'm sure there's questions. Can I open the floor? Who would like to start with some questions? That's of course the slide that I always get excited about how do we start to share this to get a better understanding of how the market performs. Daniel, you have a question. Daniel in Tanzania with Habitat for Humanity.
Yeah, I do. So I think we had some conversation at some point, but basically just wanted to know how flexible is iBuild towards opening it up to new opportunities, let's say in the different countries or different markets apart from where you are now. How fast and how open are you?
So Daniel, lucky for you, we have a global partnership with Habitat for Humanity International. And oftentimes Habitat is the convener in new markets for new market entry for iBuild. They were one of the entities that helped organize the beginning of conversations in the Mexico market. Of course, being in Tanzania, you're awful close to where our regional office is in Kenya. So it really is based on the type of project and who the current partners are in that particular market determines how quickly and to what level we enter a new market. But we already have, as I said, a global relationship with Habitat for Humanity and the Terwilliger Center.
Perfect. By the way, I'm actually supposed to be in Kenya working with Jane. So we had a conversation at some point. So yeah, so that's good. I just wanted to clarify that because if there's any opportunity, I think I'll get back to you in the near future. Thanks.
Excellent. Farai.
Right. In terms of the iBuild offering, can it be, is it strictly a standalone package or you can actually integrate it, say, into a core banking system? I'm looking at areas like monitoring of disbursements for building loans or to do with the monitoring contractors on the project. Fully
integratable with just about any banking system. As a matter of fact, we are in the middle of integrating with KWFT's backend system because they want to have a seamless process in which origination is done and then approval and then essentially management. So yes, it is integratable.
Could you stop sharing your screen so we can all then see one another face to face, like we're properly having coffee?
There we go.
There's everyone, because now I can see also that that Aqua has joined us. Are there any other questions? We've got funny feedback. Richard, do you have a question? Hello, Richard. You're on mute, so you need to unmute yourself.
No, I don't have any question. I'm okay.
Okay, well, it's nice to have you there.
It's nice having you too. Thanks. Good afternoon.
Great. Richard's with Hagai Mortgage Bank. I always struggle
Yes.
in Nigeria.
Yes.
Yes, so we've spent some extensive time in Nigeria, actually. One of my favorite colleagues is Niyi Akinlusi, who was the former president of the Mortgage Bankers Association and the MD of Trust Bond Mortgage, which is now First Trust. They just merged, I think, last year. And we're having conversations with several different lenders in that particular market. The other thing that I want to mention is, in order for us to have made this type of progress, one of the things that was extremely important was making it affordable. You know, oftentimes when you adopt new technology, there's a huge amount of cost in integrating that technology into your operations. And then there's a huge cost in the event that your equipment is incompatible with the advancement of the technology that you're adopting. You know, one of the things we're very proud of is that iBuild can be used on equipment that's 4 to 5 generations old. And essentially the cost of implementation is very low. The cost of utilization is very low. Oftentimes a fraction of a percent as an ongoing cost to your operation. And the economies that essentially are creating savings for those institutions from a management perspective, as well as from a loss saving perspective, obviously are significantly greater than the cost of implementing iBuild.
Lou, what are the things that stop you from engaging in a particular place? What are I guess your basic minimums? I'm aware that, you know, in some economies they may not have as much that's been digitized as perhaps you'd require.
So you know, size of institution is certainly an issue, but through the last couple of years, we've been able to deploy iBuild in much smaller volume situations just because of improvements that we've made to the technology, but more importantly, the improvement to training and to facilitation. You know, I think we all know in Africa, smartphones are used just about everywhere. But even if they're not used everywhere, one of the things we're very proud of is that portions of iBuild can be utilized on a feature phone, very similar to the way the M-Pesa is used, where you put in a code number and you get a drop-down menu, and then you go to the next level and next level. We recognize that the informal sector doesn't always utilize smartphone technology as frequently as we do. And we need to allow them to be able to join in the benefits that the iBuild platform provides.
Okay, no, that's really cool. I think that is an important consideration, because that you will have different levels of development in different markets.
Yes.
Aqua, hello. You got a question?
Yes. Hi. Good morning, everyone. It's probably not a question, more of a comment. I noticed that we have Robert Hornsby also on the call, and one of the activities that Lou described as part of their platform is obviously, I think with the Mexico introduction, is helping the people in the diaspora when they're sending money to actually kind of monitor that and make sure that it is being spent properly. Yes. I think that's kind of Jobo Max's business model. So I'm just curious to see, like, have you already partnered, and how does that impact on a company like theirs that's also doing something similar, but they're actually hands-on within the operations and or development of the countries that they're working in? I think they are in West Africa currently.
Yes. So the one comment, first, we're not working with them, but the one comment I will make is that remote management is really essential to scaling. If you don't have the ability to be able to grow your business and be able to manage it effectively, as you did when it was very small, you start creating some costs that prohibit your ability to be able to expand your model and to expand it effectively. What our technology is doing is obviously enabling that, but it's also enabling a much larger number of customers to access the things that they need without having to specifically have hands-on interactions with individuals. Although that is still available. As an example, there's a help desk that's accessible via the app itself, where you can just shake the app, a screen opens up, and you can have a conversation with someone. Or you can call a call center if that's available in your market. You can go online to either the Facebook page or essentially directly send an email and get a response almost immediately to any question that you may have, or to be referred to someone that can help you to solve your problem. And, I think the issue is, how effective can you be when you're trying to hire tens of thousands of people to individually manage the millions of people that essentially are sending money back to their home countries to construct their homes? And this is really, for us, it's really about helping institutions to be able to better address the needs of their customers and provide them greater level of service.
One of the things that you that we've spoken about previously is the two different approaches. So in so many conversations, iBuild gets thought of as something that fits in with the incremental housing delivery process, where it's individuals building their own homes one by one. And then but you're doing a lot of work now with suppliers, and you're actually supporting at that scale. So you've got all these different modules that slot into different segments of the demand side and of the supply side, actually. Do you want to just talk about that distinction a little bit, that they can actually...
That's a really good point. So contrary to public belief, those two segments are not mutually exclusive. As a matter of fact, they're both dependent upon each other in order to be successful. Number one, the developer-led initiatives all revolve around informal workers and informal supply chain. And the ability to be able to identify better resources is paramount to production. If you don't have the ability to identify good resources, then oftentimes there's a tremendous amount of waste that goes into those particular projects. And oftentimes, as we know, those large-scale projects stop because of things that you didn't know were going on during those projects that created a roadblock. And that's a key piece to that. What iBuild is doing is it's allowing for both the self-build environment and the production build environment to benefit off of each other. There's an extreme need for developers to find better contractors. Just one anecdotal story. I was talking to a developer probably about 4 years ago, and I was asking them, and this was in Nigeria, are you happy with the contractors you're working with? And the comment that he translated is, the devil I know is better than the devil I don't know. Well, that's not exactly a ringing endorsement for your contracted workforce. And the reality is, it's because there's a fear to go out and interject new contractors into your space because you have no idea whether they're a total disaster or whether they're better than what you've currently got. So, the cost of executing a strategy becomes incrementally higher the longer you stay with the model that gives you the least amount of indigestion. What we're trying to do is we're trying to illuminate the market to offer more choices to everyone that's involved in the development or construction or supplying of materials in this particular space.
That's why I like your beehive graphic, because I think it actually speaks to that you can fit in anywhere, actually.
Exactly.
Bob. Hello, Bob. How are you?
Hi, Keisha. Thanks. And thanks, Lou. This is really interesting stuff. I remember seeing a little bit about you guys about 2.5 years ago in Abuja at the housing show there, and I am guilty of sort of putting you in the incremental delivery box. I wasn't really aware of everything you've built out since then, so it's really interesting to see this. I have a question for you about the challenge of gathering key data in standard formats that can then be used and deployed across platforms. We, for example, in our work, wanted to integrate with some job costing solutions that are, off the shelf software that's on the market. And what we found was that by the time we got our inventory data standardized and job budget data standardized in a format that could be used by any of these off-the-shelf platforms, we had done about 90% of the work of having a system that could do the job costing for us. And those of you that are involved in CAF know this, right? Like the data, getting the data is the heavy lift, right? Once you have the data, not to belittle developers who find interesting ways to manipulate that data, but it's but until you have good data, whatever you're developing is just sort of a toy, right? So you're talking about getting supply inventory data, you're talking about getting financial qualification data, you're talking about getting geotag data, and so on and so on and so on for different modules across different geographies, different languages, different currencies. And I'm curious as to how you're grappling with that data standardization challenge. Are you giving people a template that they need to fit into? Are you finding ways to munge data as it comes in so that so you can work with it? Thanks.
So that's a terrific question. And so that speaks to two things, really, Robert. Number one, why we developed iBuild. First of all, our experience in housing finance, housing production, the self-built environment. My career spans production, construction through government programs, self-build initiatives. My wife and I ran a firm that built about 22,000 homes over a 10-year period. So we really do understand the problems associated with both production and self-build. So, and everybody builds little tools that they use that improve their ability to be able to deliver their own business model. But it's the same problem that exists and has existed since technology became a part of the build envelope. Fragmented database do not create efficiencies. And what we've been able to do is we've been able to take the best of everything and integrate that into iBuild. So, and a very good question that you asked is, do we try to make people fit into our view? The answer is no. One of the things that we do is we do an assessment of your business so that we better understand your operating model. And then essentially we create your ability to be able to use the essence of what you're doing and to frame that in the iBuild technology. And that allows you to be able to use all the key learnings that you've accumulated and to embed them in aspects of our technology that creates the kind of environment that obviously lowers costs, lowers risks, and increases efficiency.
Lou, thank you. Thank you. We've got like a minute and a half left. I wonder if there's any last thing that you'd like to say just to round up. This has been such a good session. I would love to be able, if you're happy with that, to post your presentation on the iBuild page on the AUHF website.
Of course.
That information is, I'm sure people would be, we've already noted down other people we think we want to send it to, because we're sorry that they missed this. But do you have anything you'd like to say before we say goodbye to everyone?
I think this was a good mix of audience. Many of you are institutions that we'd love to have conversations with. I think that a priority for everyone in our space is how do we reach more people more effectively, and how do we ensure that the social impact that we believe we're delivering is actually being delivered. And that's another aspect of iBuild, the ability to be able to quantify the social impact, which we're doing with several of those institutions by adding the capability to capture that type of information. So I'd be happy to talk to anyone that's interested in continuing the conversation. You can go to our website, and there's the ability to be able to send requests for additional information or to have conversations. I'm on LinkedIn, and you certainly can reach me through there. I can put you in touch with anyone in our regional office, which is in Kenya, or any of the other markets that we're actually operating in. But I'd like to say thank you again to AUHF, to CAF. Thank you, Kessia. It's always a pleasure to see you and to have conversations with the people that you are assisting to be better at what they do.